before I get started, pre-order links are here. I got the Behind the Pads hoodie graphic. Boom. Peep it. Please, please, please go pre-order it. I think I'll be able to be shipping them out within 2 weeks. I make them all myself. I screen them. I had my homie Zilly Holiday, Zach Cascas, and another friend, Andrea Pierce, help me with the design of it. And it was really, I felt super connected to that design because it's legitimately the position I sit in every single day when I'm making beats, and you see it on the screen there, and I felt like I wanted it to, as best as I could, represent that on a hoodie. So there's that, Behind the Pads OG graphic, I'm calling it, and then the OK Dope graphic. So so many of you have noticed, and it made me notice how much I say OK Dope, and I'm not going to stop. I say it in life every day. I don't know why. It just comes out. It's like an easy thing, it's an easy thing to say. So I got those hoodies available too. Let me know what you think of the design below. The link is below. Please go and order that. I'm so hyped to finally get these out, and I can't wait to get it for myself too. Right now I'm just rocking our Rare Sounds hoodie again. I can't stop wearing this thing. We're dropping these soon too, so be on the lookout. I'll definitely have a link for those as well, but Behind the Pads merch is finally available. Go peep the link. Thank you. Finally. Okay. I think I got this. Different angle. I know this is weird. Welcome back to another Behind the Pads, episode 25 with me, Datsun. And I just spent way too much time trying to figure out how to get this all to work. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different. If you've just watched the track played before this, you'll notice that there was no machine or SP involved in that entire process. So I got super inspired by this guy, The Count, on Instagram at Count Cole recently, and he's been putting out these videos of just sort of showcasing all those little layers that he is putting in the tracks. And I found it really interesting because I felt like I could hear those elements even more when they were on the screen and you're listening to it. So it got me thinking a little bit where I was like, you know what? I'm going to try doing it this way and see what it turns out like. So I went and I saw that he had a pack on Splice. And I typically, as you know, if you've been watching my series, I don't know if I've actually used Splice once in the series or really in my music as far as melodies go or chord progressions or anything like that. If I were to use it, it's mostly for specific like percussive elements, drum sounds. I find it really helpful if you're on the road and don't have access to being able to sample things, but you're trying to look for something really unique. I find that Splice can kind of help with that, but I'm not big on using chord progressions really. So, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just how I like it. But in this case, I was just like kind of flipping through his sounds and heard this chord progression and was like, you know what? I'm going to use that and make a track around it. And I kind of worked all these elements in and made a bit of an arrangement from this, 16 bar loop or 8 bar loop, sorry. And I recorded and produced the entire track in Ableton. So what that means is I had to download a program called Reaper because I didn't have another DAW that I could use to actually track this, the audio and my session audio in Ableton while still being able to play the session for you in solo elements and do that. So I downloaded another DAW. And it's called Reaper. It's a free 60-day trial. So I was like, shit, why not? Let's do it. And I was able to set up 2 audio tracks in it. And I'll open it up right here. You can see right here they're tracking. It's a little bland looking right now, but I heard that you can really customize it and stuff. So I might hang on to it and play around with it for the next couple months and see if I'm interested in buying it. It seems pretty cheap anyway. So yeah. So I basically have it's almost the same setup in a way, but I had to do this screen recording. I needed to download a different program because QuickTime was completely eating up my CPU while having Reaper open running my Motu interface and Ableton open running the machine interface into the SP, which goes back into the Motu. And my computer was just choking up so much, so I had to stop the video and, figure out a new way. And I found this new app, which is also a trial. Man, I'm just getting all these trial modes right now, and it's working great. I'm shooting this video off completely trial mode things. Reaper, Capto, and way, way, way less on my CPU doing this screen recording right now, which is incredible. So it allows me to track the session. Now that I have this all running, I'm finally able to do a little bit of a behind the pads on this session. All right, so I'll get started here now. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit different because I've never shot a video like this. That's why I changed up the angle, just to make it even more difficult for myself. But I got my mouse pad here. You can see on the conga. And so my mouse over here, but I definitely figure I'll start with the splice sample itself. And I've got so many of my tracks frozen here. And for all of you who don't use Ableton, freezing your track is basically just, you can see it makes the plugins inaccessible, but it makes it so that it frees up space of your CPU. So I said that so poorly, but you get it. So, the sample here is the one from The Count himself on Splice, and it's called Synth Sample Dusty 80 BPM in the key of C. Okay, so let's hear this. Yeah, I heard this right away and just felt like it made me instantly start singing and writing. And I find that anything that makes you feel that way and get that inspired is something you should follow through with. So I kind of went against my own, creative values of not using pre-made chord progressions and used it and made a track out of it that I really, really dig. And, I know a lot of people out there are probably using that same sample in some way, shape, or form, but that shit inspired me big time. And I wrote a track that I'm super hyped about. So let's see here. Okay, so I had the sample. To be honest, I wrote all the lyrics to it before I even started writing the drums or any other layers to it. And I basically, once I had written it all out, that's when I started going back and starting to do the drums. And as you noticed, I used a real kit this time just to give it that raw feel. And I'll solo it here for you. But so I've got a number of plugins on this kit actually right now, and the first one I've got running is the Wolf compressor, and I love this plugin by Goodhertz. It's dirty, it's gritty. The compression on it when you want to slam it, as this preset is called right here, sounds so good. It makes it so noisy and just beefs it up a little bit. I use Wolf compressor on a lot of things if you haven't noticed already. And then the next plugin is Ableton's built-in drum bus, and that's another plugin that I kind of recently discovered in the last maybe year, and it's incredible. It's like, I don't know, man, like something about putting it on a kit, the amount you can shape it is pretty amazing. You know, you can just, it's, I'll show you with it on and off here. Wolf comp really changes it. Okay, so you can hear the transients are cut shorter. You can add like this, that you can add that bottom end boom if you want, like to have a bit of like almost like an 808 feel to it below your kick. So, and then recently, all of these plugins, so dope, so unique, each one in their own right. Recently, XLN Audio, man, this plugin right here is for real blowing my mind. RC20. I have been using it on everything. It's like the ultimate lo-fi plugin. I don't know, like, not to use that word so loosely and also definitively, but it's super, super dope and intuitive, and the amount of option you get in it with shaping the sound, and you can instantly hear the same thing here. Like when I go vinyl, you can instantly hear it the moment I play this track, the amount of grit it's got. And this is just a startup vinyl preset, but what? I mean, this is like exceptionally noisy right now, but y'all know from sampling the amount of noise we deal with when you're getting it from old records. Now that I'm using TrackLib, maybe not so much, but all those old records, those dusty breaks, and you can really like shape it, you know? Some cool shit there. So if I go with this, the wow flutter, I love that. Okay, cool. Come on, super dope. So I really have been using the hell out of this plugin. And again, let's play it. Okay, and then when I throw my instant lo-fi goodness, rolls off a bunch of that top end, gives it the grit. There's like, I like the digital sound you can get to it, the sampler 12-bit feeling. So super dope. Another one from XLN Audio on the drum kit is this DS10 drum shaper. And honestly, another really, really dope plugin. It's kind of redundant, some of these, like using this drum bus and the DS10. They do some similar things as far as like the attack, if you want to shape the transient a little bit more and make the drums more snappy with shorter sustain. But each one has its own, you know, benefits to using it, and this mojo knob, everything. I mean, like, there's so much about this. I love using it on the kit, and so far I've been using a ton of it, especially the RC20. I've been putting it on my master. I've been putting it on vocals or keys like crazy. Just everything, man. Ultimate lo-fi. Okay, so moving on from the drums, that was like 8-bar break, tracked it, didn't do much timing for it. You know what I mean? I just played to a click track with that count sample playing behind it. And so I wanted to keep it super simple too. Like, I've been saying this a lot in my videos recently, but and I'm looking at my session right now and I'm like, yeah, super simple, bro. But it's not really that complicated. As far as like instrumentation and stuff, I tried to keep it very simple because I love what the sample already has. Like the chord progression, the bass he's got in it. I didn't want to overcomplicate, so I kept the drum groove extremely simple and just started adding those like little percussive elements like snaps, claps. Let's open those. So the claps, the congas, well, the conga, this conga, the mouse pad. So you can hear there isn't a ton going on. My scissors. That shaker combination with the bell. Seriously, super simple. So I like to kind of go in and, with anything that's percussive, I love using the EQ8 in Ableton just because it gives you a visual representation of where like the frequencies are being taken up a lot. And there's so many times where you don't realize how much bottom end exists in your like on a tambourine channel, for example. It may not be producing that sound, but there's something that's coming through that mic that's producing that low frequency, even a little bit. So the moment you start compressing those and affecting them so much, you start to really notice these low end issues. So I try to really like carve out a lot of that bottom end on all of these, like on the shaker, big time, on the snaps, the claps, even on the conga, like not as deep, but pretty deep, So after all the percussive elements were added and everything, I kind of had that like basis of like what the song was going to be because I knew it wasn't going to be changing that much. Let's see here. With the guitarlele in there, that little mini guitar. It's got a vibe. It's super chill. So I will add the vocals in now. And I wanted to go. So my homie Jacob Sigmund and I were having this conversation recently about how good Moonchild recordings, for example, like how good the vocals sound, and like Amber's voice always has this super extreme breathiness to it, and I find that that's such a difficult thing to achieve if you're just full on singing. And there's like a balance where if you crank your pre and you sing really quietly, you're going to get a lot of that breathiness. And it's almost like you're self EQing in a way and giving it a little bit more top end by adding that breathiness to it. And there's a fine line there, but I tried to really go for that super soft, cranked pre, singing as quiet as I could on it while still, trying to hit the notes. But I felt like I got close to achieving that, and I processed them with like a chorus with that Native Instruments choral plugin. I love that chorus. I processed it with some Melodyne to help just a few of the notes that were a little bit flat there. And I didn't go super hard perfect on it. There are moments where I let it sound a little bit more digital. If you're familiar with Iman Omari, like super dope. And I felt like I was kind of trying to like channel that vocal tone a little bit, but
everything you wanted got you feeling some way, like you
gotta hydrate.
A chance to run away, don't run away. All these things we need, like money, fame, and greed. Do they mean anything at the end of the day?
Boom. So it's super simple, not to keep repeating myself, but like, again, there aren't any major changes happening. There's very little as far as like too many new elements being added. I'm like I said, I wanted to make it as listenable as possible, where it's not demanding too much of your attention, and if it's on, you could just chill and relax and listen to it. So, I think I don't know that I could say much more about it. I hope there was some of this video that was a little bit informative as far as like the way I treated my drums, or just set up my session, even with like, this is kind of like organized chaos here, but there's a rhyme and reason to most things in sessions. And okay, dope. So lastly, I'm just going to quickly talk about what I have on my master channel. And I know I broke down most of the plugins on the drum bus. As far as my vocal channel, it's pretty straightforward too, with just like an SSL G channel EQ, and I ran the Native Instruments chorus on it, the choral plugin. RVox. I managed to just, not go too ham with it. But on my master channel, people have asked me what I put on it, and one of my favorite plugins as of late is this Waves TG mastering chain. It's the Abbey Roads mastering chain. And I don't know, I'm not a professional mastering engineer, and I definitely do not have the budget to be sending my tracks out to be mastered all the time. If I did, 1,000%, 10 times out of 10, I would choose sending my music out to get mastered by someone else. But in my case, I have to master everything myself. So these plugins like this mastering chain are super helpful. And the presets, I don't give a shit what anybody says about being like, oh, you shouldn't be using presets because, whatever BS. They're there because people designed them. Professional mastering and mix engineers have designed these and all of those plugins to use, to have as starting points. So the one I love going to every single time is, I don't know how to exactly pronounce his name, but Maurer Applebaum, Bonita Applebaum. So Hi-Fi Vibe. I know that's such a funny name for a preset. It's like, of course, Hi-Fi Vibe, but the difference is pretty incredible. I will play it without really quick here for you.
Everything you wanted got you feeling some way, like you ain't had the chance to run
Come
away,
on.
don't run away.
Undeniably, it lifts some of that bottom end and the mid end punch. It gives you that crisp top end, and the spreader is amazing if you want to just add a little bit of stereo space to your mix. And then RC20, once again, I'm obsessed with it these days, so I'm using it on my master as well. A bit of that vinyl grit valve compressor, can't get over it. And then lastly, the L1 limiter. I don't slam it too hard,
Everything you want.
even though it's like minus probably 10 dB right now, but that's all good. So all in all, pretty simple setup, pretty simple session. Thank you so much for tuning in again for another Behind the Pads. I know this one was really different and not super involved in seeing the creative process go down for this, but I'll try to get better at that if I'm shooting videos like that, to sort of document more of the things I'm doing. It's just like, it's a lot to be running those cameras and the session and doing all that. So it sometimes hinders the creative process. And lately I've been feeling like, I'm trying to still retain as much creative freedom and have that while still being able to deliver honest but good content for you guys to watch. So I definitely appreciate you watching, and please, as usual, the links are below to all the gear I'm using, to some of the XLN audio plugins. I'll leave a link for those, and to Good Hertz Wolf compressor. You can find that all below. My music, Spotify, This Is Rare Sounds. Hit that playlist up on Spotify, please. I appreciate it. So much music dropping. On Tuesday, so tomorrow, I'm dropping a track with Zilly Holiday and Saint Amour. We're actually dropping a pair of tracks. So The Teller and Marked Man super dope tracks. I will leave the pre-save link below. And lastly, Behind the Pads merch, you already know. Peep that in the link below. I'm going to be so excited shipping these orders out, and I hope to see some people wearing those in videos. I'm so hyped to be rocking it myself. So I don't know. I think that's it. I keep on talking, but I feel like I've covered mostly everything. And until next time, peace, yo.